14th Tech Utsav. This is my third time being here. The first time I remember was in 2016. And Raj, Ram, thank you. Ram, especially to you, thanks for being a good industry colleague and being a good supporter and cheerleader. And AI. Let's spend the next 20 odd minutes on AI and India. So let's see where we are headed. I remember last time I was here, March 2019 Tech Utsav, the 2019 Tech Utsav. I started my presentation by asking a question or making a statement. I'm going to do that again because it is still relevant. I'm going to make a statement, and if you agree with it, just raise your hand. Okay? We are living in times where the rate of innovation in deep tech and AI is the fastest that we've ever seen in our lives. Thank you, but that's just half the statement. The rest of the statement is we are also living in times where the rate of innovation in deep tech and AI is going to be the slowest for the rest of our lives. Do you agree?
Yes.
Good. Let that sink in. Okay. So we are actually living in times of extremely fast innovation. And to Hari's point, my definition of innovation is it's a manifestation of theoretical idea to add value, any kind of value, commercial, product, any kind of value. So that's my personal definition. So let's look at. Let's light up. Okay. Can we come up here? All right. Cool. I have a few slides and I have about 18 minutes now. Let's go through this. Next slide. All right. I have three key sections. Let's look at what's happening in AI around the world, and let's look at what's happening in India, and and specific to India and AI, right? So, okay, I think I will do this one. We were talking about the pace of innovation. In the last 3 weeks, there have been some groundbreaking innovations and movements in the AI space, right? And one of them is actually Meta introduced Llama 3, and Microsoft introduced its first SLM, small language model 5.3 mini. Both of them actually work on non-GPU machines. In fact, I myself use Llama 3 on my CPU, on my MacBook, okay, offline, and you don't need GPUs, right? So all of a sudden, the hyperscaler model is moving away, and the need for GPUs is actually moving away. India's GPU cloud provider, Yota Data Services, okay, are struggling to, rent out. They bought 20,000, NVIDIA GPUs, H100s, and are struggling to rent them out at the rate of $2 per GPU per hour. Okay, that's how fast it's evolving. But that's just one of the things that happened in the last 3 weeks. Sundar Pichai announced a couple of weeks back that Google in the last 1 year has reduced its AI hardware and chipset and GPU dependency by 80% for all of their generative AI search queries, right? And third one, okay, cool. Then last week, Meta came up with a new paper which is on multi-token prediction. Right now in generative AI, the token prediction happens one token at a time, serially. Last week Meta came up with 4 token prediction, which increases the LLM efficiency by 3x while retaining the same amount of training data. Right? These are some of the innovations that came out in the last 3 weeks, and I'm not even talking about the big OpenAI announcement on ChatGPT 4.0 or Google I/O, or a few hours back what Satya Nadella announced in terms of the Copilot, Copilot Plus, the Copilot Studio. They were all announced. They all made headlines. I'm talking about the ones that went under the radar. So talking about the innovations which are groundbreaking in a field which are still not capturing public eye and are going under the radar. This is the pace of innovations that we're seeing in this field right now. And who's investing and reaping off of it right now? Right now it's the big tech. In the last 1 year, the 3 big tech companies invested 2/3 of the total VC investments that went into Gen AI in US. And in the last 1 year, Microsoft it alone added close to $1 trillion to its market cap, mostly thanks to its AI pivot or AI focus. The top 5 big tech companies added close to $4 trillion in the last 1 year. Compared to that, the VCs have invested over $315 billion in GenAI investments. Okay, so clearly it's a platform for, the CEO talked about tech creators, tech developers, and tech users. These big tech companies are trying to become the tech creators, and iPhone versus iOS versus Android. It's a platform war that's going on, and everyone wants to own the platform of choice. And where is AI as a technology evolution, right? Traditional AI, or what we call first gen AI, was good at pattern recognition, profiling, predictions. Then came Gen AI in November 2022, which was good at storytelling and narrative and thematic overlay. We are on the cusp of seeing something called as AI agents, specifically in the enterprise space. That's AI 2.5 generation wise, but very soon we'll be coming with the third generation of AI, which will be good at reasoning. It will make inferences, it will draw conclusions, it will solve problems and make decisions. On the path to AGI, there's still perception, memory, cognitive and metacognitive abilities that are yet to be cracked, but this looks like the logical progression of AI across generations. So the first, gen of AI was good at analysis. Next, it was good at creating. The third will be good at reasoning, right? Let's look at what's happening in the enterprises right now. In enterprise AI, almost 50% of the apps that are being developed are still chatbots. Okay, primarily customer support chatbots and recommendation systems. They're just chat interfaces over recommendations. These are right now enterprises are using Gen AI specifically only for the chatbot applications, and the biggest impact that they are looking at is actually in terms of cost efficiency and productivity gains. A dollar saved is dollar earned. And this is also showing up in the way that they look at ROI. I mean, right now in Gen AI, ROI is both an art and science. More than 50% of the companies believe that there is going to be positive ROI, but they're not measuring it right now. Over 30% of the companies are looking at ROI in terms of cost savings. And about 10% of them believe that ROI will come from new opportunities of Gen AI, right? And what is happening right now, which I personally don't like, is that the Gen AI investments in companies are moving away from R&D and innovation budgets into software upgradation budgets. So I personally believe that enterprises should actually increase their innovation and R&D budgets instead of moving Gen AI into software upgradation budgets, right? Let's look at what's happening in the consumer space. Okay, AI companions, AI girlfriends, and AI boyfriends are by far the most used AI application. Period. Okay, even compared to general assistant, messaging, content edition, and content creation, Gen AI is being used for AI companions, and even in the last 6 months, the AI companions have come a long way in terms of relevance, holding the conversation, their depth and quality. I don't know how many of you know two world-class, we don't know the names, two world-class footballers in Italy actually proposed to take an AI influencer, Elisa Pellegrini, out on a date. They didn't know that she was just an AI influencer. Okay, they wanted to spend a few hundreds of thousands of dollars on her, taking her out on a date. This is what is happening in the real world. Next slide. So what this implies is, especially the contact center and call center and the customer support businesses are going to be taken over by the Gen AI very fast and very soon. I mean, the quality of Gen AI is getting that close when in the consumer space, AI companions are getting really human interface capabilities and quality. Next slide. All right, let's look at what's happening in India. India is the new China. That's not my term. Last week, Scott Galloway, the marketing professor at New York University, was making a presentation in Hamburg, Germany, on 6 predictions for 2024. This was prediction number 5 for him, and it's his phrase, not mine. India is the new China. So let's look at what's happening in India, right? Macros. In very good in terms of the headroom for growth and the pace of growth. Okay. I don't know why people think China is bad. I love that country. Anyway, macros. The only big economy, again fastest growing over 6%. The infrastructure is growing. Okay, don't be fooled by the city infrastructure. Just last night, I jumped into my car, drove 300 kilometers to reach home at 1 o'clock in 3.5 hours from a place called Davangere where my daughter is playing her state ranking tournament to be here this morning. I'll be going back again because this evening at 7:30 she has another match. I'll be staying there tomorrow and come back tomorrow night to jump on a flight to go to Bombay to give another keynote on Friday morning. Even 3 years back, people are jumping into cars and driving 600-700 kilometers in 8-9 hours without thinking twice in India. Okay, even 3 years back this was not possible. 2 years ago, the Indian government allocated $1.3 trillion in road infrastructure, which was then almost half of our GDP, right? You look at the airports. Most of you must have landed in the Bangalore T2 airport, rated and awarded as one of the best. In the last 2 years, I did some 15 trips to Europe, from Iceland to London to Greece, Switzerland, everywhere. I still believe, Indian airports rock. So, airports, we're building really good and classy ones. Rail infrastructure is growing. We have over 800 billion smartphones, long, big broadband optical fiber infrastructure. So macros, we are growing really fast. UPI payments, the micro seamless payments, crossed actually dated data, crossed 10 billion transactions in August last year. Okay, and we have about close to 900 million subscribers. The per capita data, mobile data usage was less than 1 GB not many years ago, around COVID. Grew to 24 GB per month right now. Okay, people are not just consuming, they're creating using mobile data. And where is this leading to? Indian government, along with the industry, has created something called as digital public infrastructure in more than 15-20 areas. Our identity, our payments, every sector that you can think of, the micropayments, the seamless mobile payments that happen, they are on digital public infrastructure. At population scale, we build digital infrastructure that works seamlessly. Okay, so the DPI approach is somewhere lies between government and the private sector. The government acts as an enabler and a regulator and gives the blessing. The private industry, the DPI is actually built by a voluntary organization, a bunch of voluntary organizations, and the private industry just takes it and builds a bunch of services and solutions on them and scales them like crazy, right? And we have DPIs in almost every sector. These are called mature DPIs in almost 7-8 industries, from education, logistics, payments, and healthcare. I was heading strategy for Google Health AI for 2.5 years, and I was involved in building India's biggest healthcare DPI. We went from 0 to 20 million active subscribers in 15 months flat, and we had over 1 billion data parameters, of over 40 million plus screenings of the citizens. This is the rate at which, they call India the elephant. The reason for that is, elephant takes its time to start running, but once it starts running, it really, catches the momentum and acceleration and velocity really fast. So that's what is happening in India. And most of our DPIs are at population scale. The coverage is almost 95% plus for identity. FASTag is our, toll tax system. This is our GST tax, DPI reach. They're all 100%. So, and India is also exporting its digital public infrastructure. Right now, over 30 plus countries are implementing one or other India's DPIs. And I work with Center of DPI. They've standardized and templatized the implementation to 3 weeks now, right? DPI is going to be India's BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative that China launched. So we're going to be using DPI to penetrate into other markets and showcase our capabilities. Let's look at what's happening in the startup ecosystem. Third biggest startup ecosystem with 31,000 startups. We are in the mecca of Indian startups, Bangalore. Over 70 billion, funding raised over the years. The number is a little dated. We have over 100 unicorns, companies valued over $1 billion and above, and over $10 billion already invested in deep tech. What's expected in 2024? Every company, every startup is going to be an AI or a generative AI company. 2/3 of the startups are already pursuing Gen AI solutions, and they're going to be raising a lot of funding. I've seen in the last 15 years that I've been closely involved with the startup ecosystem. I've seen the you need to have revenue to raise even $500,000. Conversations go from there to here's a $5, $10, $15 million check. Even before POC. This in a span of 3-4 years, and that's how startup ecosystem is changing. We can look at all the numbers, and see how India is changing. But there's also a subjective way to look at how the attitude of India is changing. And I'd like to run a small video here for you guys. Can you run the video, please? Just the first 10-20 seconds. All right. This is a game of cricket for most people who come out of India. Okay. I'll show. Okay. Let me just run you through what happened there. In that match, cricket and Bollywood are known as the religions of India, right? And cricket is a good proxy to see how India is progressing. In this match, what happened was the baller balled, and the batsman hit a run and he was running. The bowler was obstructing the batsman on the pitch, not making him run so that he can get a run out. One of the batsmen, Rohit Sharma, avoided him, ducked him, and still made the run, and was talking to him saying that you're obstructing me. In the same match, a few runs later, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the captain of Indian team, was running again, and the bowler was obstructing. He's not supposed to be doing that. Dhoni just shoved him and pushed him aside and still made the run. Okay? This is the changing face of India. The old India could still do everything, but in a very docile, accommodative way. Okay? The new India, Raghuram Rajan, one of the big economists in the world who predicted 2008 GFC, calls this the Virat Kohli effect. Okay, from 1990s to 2010, Sachin Tendulkar, one of the biggest player that the cricket has ever produced, made all his runs, made all his centuries, made all his records, but he was very docile, married to a very introvert, divorcee, lives a very low profile life. 2010s, in the last 10-12 years, Virat Kohli, beat all Sachin Tendulkar's records, is flamboyant, married to a Bollywood superstar, but at the same time grounded. Okay, so this is the emergence of new India, right? Confident, capable, and delivering results. When you go around and talk to colleagues in Tietoevry, you will actually make out the difference. You will make out the difference of the new emerging India. The youngsters who know what they are and know how to talk about it. So that's one attitudinal, subjective way of looking at how India is changing. Last 5 minutes probably, let's look at what's happening in AI. April 2024, Stanford University came up with a global AI index. India, tops the world in terms of number of AI skill penetration between 2015 and 2023, right? Beating even US and Germany. The number of GitHub projects presented, by Indians, second in the world, behind only United States. Again, in the last 12 years. Number of people, skilling in terms of AI in the last 7 years, highest in the world. You look at the number 2, 3, 4 countries, they're Cyprus, Denmark, and Singapore. They're all small countries, on a small base. India, with its big base, is still the biggest with 263% number of people who are skilling up on AI, right? And, this shows the 2 of the 8 authors of the Transformers, seminal Transformers white paper in 2017 in Google are Indians, Ashwin Vaswani and Nikki Parmar, right? Last week, Sam Altman, talked about Praful Dhariwal. He said Praful Dhariwal joined OpenAI as an intern in 2016, and without him, today we wouldn't have been able to launch ChatGPT 4.0. A good friend and industry colleague, Karen Isabel Noob, who's executive director of Harvard Business School and head of Harvard Case Studies, she says, Jayanth, in US, if you got to do anything with AI and if you have an Indian name, your resume automatically goes on top of the 5. So this is what we're looking at, when it comes to AI skill sets and India, right? And this is showing in number of, patents being filed and the IP that's coming out of the country as well. In 2023, the number of the patents filed, tech patents filed in India grew by 24% to 83,000 from 68,000 in 2022 a year ago. And everyone is equally contributing. Individuals, startups, most of them come from MNCs, almost 45% of them. And among deep tech, deep tech patents, artificial intelligence has the most number of patents being filed from this country, mostly around image processing, NLP, and predictive modeling, compared to all other deep tech, patents combined together. And what is government doing? Government is also actually enabling and supporting the growth of AI in India. India was one of the first countries globally to come up with a national AI strategy back in 2018. And government put together 7 AI working groups to cover the entire breadth to ensure that AI gets integrated into every aspect of the of our life. Government actually partnered with NVIDIA to procure a bunch of H100 and 200 GPUs and make them available for research, academia, and startups. To actually run their LLMs and use their GPUs as clouds. And AI is expected to contribute about $500 billion, which is 10% of total India's GDP by next year. So, if you're thinking AI anywhere in the world, you just can't ignore India. That's it. My name is Jayanth Kolla. From Convergence Catalyst, I help companies make sense and win with AI. Thank you for your time.
No, we are not letting you go yet. We are not letting you go yet. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ram.
Was that mind-blowing or what? Yeah. Let's have a big round. How is the Josh in India? Big up. How is the Josh? Fantastic. Not you, Josh. We have a Josh also, and we have lots of Josh. Josh is energy. That was fantastic as always, Jayanth, and I'm sure the audience here has a lot of questions. But while you're thinking through those questions, I was just wondering, there's been a lot of milestones. But what has been the tipping point? Has there been a tipping point which has kind of transformed the scene for AI?
Okay, the tipping point, I'll tell you from my personal experience. 2 things, right? About 8-9 years ago, when the digital transformation wave started, you will not believe, actually, most of the companies who jumped on the digital transformation wave were actually non-core technology companies. They were in the healthcare space, in the retail space, in the logistics space, in the banking and financial space. And they were investing in through digital transformation. They were investing in deep tech. The reason that, in my personal experience, that I observed was more in the technology companies, most of the CXOs were the people who had done their PhDs and masters in AI back in 80s and 90s were during AI winter. So when the actual deep tech was ready and coming out of the woods, they were like, the wolf and the boy, right? Shepherd. We've heard this story, it's not coming back again. But the non-core tech companies were saying that, we are not going to invest very regularly in digital technologies. We're going to do it once for a very long time. So, might as well equip us with the latest and the greatest technologies. So that's what happened actually. IoT, blockchain, and AI got implemented in non-core technology companies between 2015 and 18 and 19. And then, what happened with COVID. COVID actually accelerated the digital transformation. So a combination of these two were actually the tipping point. And then the Indian engineers to deploy them around the world had to skill up.
So maybe a follow-up question, and I would like anybody who has a question to raise their hand and please pick it up. But before I go on to it, just a follow-up. I also heard you say at one point of time that, the generative AI is like the iPhone moment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because iPhone transformed mobile, right?
Yeah.
Both of us know that from a mobile.
Right. Right.
Hi, Jen.
No. Can you react to the iPhone thing?
Yes. So I'll tell you what I mean by that, right? Hari is from Palm. I'm from Motorola and Nokia. I launched Moto Q and the N series and the Express Music, the Symbian OS phones back in the day. So we had smartphones before Apple launched iPhone, right? Okay, and Palm was one of the big players. Microsoft was, HP was, okay, and obviously the Nokia, Motorola as well. But the smartphones back then, pre-iPhone era, were extremely capable. BlackBerry, how can we forget BlackBerry, right? They were extremely capable and functional. Okay, but what iPhone did was iPhone made the technology very intuitive. It brought the technology to an average human's usability. Okay, so and that captured the imagination, of the masses. That's exactly what ChatGPT is doing with AI and generative AI. I mean, it is bringing the AI closer to a human, and that is captured, and that's why they went from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months.
I just love that analogy. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ram.
Thank you, Ram. Hi, Jayanth. Wonderful presentation, and I really, I feel very proud going through all these.
We all should be, yes.
So, a question regarding some of the slides you said. So, you said that companies are actually spending less on R&D and more on software upgrades. Did I?
No, they're moving it.
And you said
what they're doing is they're moving the AI investments from R&D and innovation into software upgrade. So they're breaking, AI into each function software upgrade, and they're allocating AI budget into that.
What do you think they should be doing instead?
They should, in fact, increase their innovation and R&D. We are, as far as AI is concerned, we are right now in the innovation cycle. Okay, I mean, like Hari, I also worked with Nokia. I worked with Motorola. I launched Moto Razr. I launched Nokia's first touchscreen device, the Express Music. I launched 69 devices in my life. Okay, I was with Nokia, the youngest product manager with Nokia, when Nokia was an 85% market share holder in the country. When in India for 10 years, a mobile phone was synonymous with Nokia. Okay, come iPhone, come the entire Android and iOS ecosystem, the smartphone ecosystem. The companies that pioneered cell phones, Motorola, and the companies that had 42% global market share and 88% market share in India don't exist anymore, right? So my point is, right now with AI, we are in that seminal movement. We are in a movement where companies need to think really deeply and hard. They should invest in trying to build to scale, not scale what is working. The incremental thinking that most enterprises have.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the exciting presentation. We are a digital engineering services company.
Right.
And of course, wondering what the AI strategy is supposed to be for us. And we kind of initiated an AI business program early this year, and here and there. But I've been talking to quite a few AI companies in a similar space, and they're actually saying that there's a lot of buzz in this enterprise bot area, but no real business. Yeah. So you should focus on actually R&D, like automotive, telecommunications, smart devices. They're even doing a lot of actually money as a service provider. But what do you think?
Right. So that's the thing. Enterprises think incrementally, and as engineering services companies, this is what I would strongly recommend. Okay, the companies around the world are hiring head of AIs and chief AI officers. They shouldn't be doing that. Companies should be establishing AI success offices. What that means is, a small team of multifunctional people. Okay, most of the companies, their AI teams are led by data scientists and engineers. Data scientists and engineers are only as good as the business problem that they solve, and the business guy is only as good as the thinking that the AI success office should be like this, internal, maverick, small team of multifunctional people who can think outside the box, the entrepreneurship, model. Companies should establish entrepreneurship model, and as engineering services companies, you are invested in helping your clients succeed. You should push that kind of a consulting model for companies to succeed.
Yes, so thank you very much for an awesome presentation.
Good morning. Thank you for staying awake.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for noticing. I'm awake. That's why I need to talk, so I stay awake, in fact. Very impressed by hearing about the India and what India has accomplished over the last years.
Right.
on the way down, when I didn't sleep on the plane, I actually read a McKinsey report on productivity. And India and China have been leading the productivity by far the last 20 years.
Right.
Western Europe has lagged on 2.8% versus 5.6, I think, on India and 6.9 on China.
Right.
You know, we are a global company, as Harry was saying. You know, have hubs in Western Europe, Latin here, China, and so on. You know, how about Western Europe? You know, how would you compare? India's just thriving and charging ahead, and what about the rest? We need to think about the whole globe. So,
Yes.
what advice would you give to us who live in Western Europe?
We are also catching up.
I am on the board of a couple of German startups, so I know exactly the situation in Western Europe. I'll tell you what India has done, impacted in terms of productivity and work, way of working globally, and I'll then come to Western Europe. Again, personal, this 20 years ago when I was in Motorola, our global teams were based in Chicago, in US, and I was launching phones here, so I had to talk to my engineering teams and global teams. And the calls that we could set up were only between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Chicago times. And even then, if someone had to go pick up their kids from school, they couldn't take the call. And we had to stay awake at 2 or 3 in the morning, okay, to do calls with our US counterparts. Fast forward back to the last 2.5 years when I was with Google, okay, the Google VPs are staying awake at 1:30 and 2 in the night, okay. The US folks are taking calls all around the clock to accommodate their Indian colleagues. And my daughter plays badminton. Half the time I'm taking calls from the badminton training academy or from a court, and they all know that and they are accommodative. So in terms of productivity and the way of working, I think India as China has passed that on to North America. In Western Europe, I think it's a combination of, where the generation is heading, what are their priorities, what the government is supporting, and also the packages. I mean, today, in fact, my podcast episode actually comes out, and it's with the Minister of European Parliament, who was a part of EU AI Act, and she talks about the EU innovation packages all around Europe. There are a lot of innovation packages. The startups are being encouraged. Okay, sooner or later, I think the Western Europeans are going to catch up. There are a lot of geopolitical and societal, mix that's happening in that region, from migrants to everything else. Okay, so I think they're only going to catch up very soon.
Okay, so Jayanth, that was great. Very insightful, very interesting, and impressive. I have a slightly different kind of. What are the perils of AI? Okay. I know that's not the topic here.
Have you watched Matrix?
Yeah, hold on. But my question is more around, what happened to, you probably picked up what happened to Warren Buffett the other day, what he was saying, the presentation that he had never made. So what does the risk around that look like over the next few years?
In the short term, we are going to have all of that, Raj. Okay, we can't run away with that. I mean, Uruk was the company which lost $25 million last week. The UK company where their CFO's voice was faked on a call, and $25 million have been transferred. I think at the onset of any new technology, the scamsters first get onto it, and those are going to happen. But at the same time, we are having the truth GPTs of the world, who's the entire LLM actually ensures that every word that the GPT puts out is actually verified. Okay, those will come. The regulations. Yeah, it is because all you have to do is you have to combine what Google does in terms of indexing, okay, with the GPT LLM, this one, right? You just need to combine that. Right now, LLMs are running away with it because they can narrate, and it's a good thing to do. But those checks and balances will be put in place. Yeah. As we speak, EU is also coming up with the Civil Liabilities Act, Vertical Act. Okay, so I think all those checks and balances will be put in place, and we'll see a mature evolution of AI.
I think we have time for one or maybe two questions. One question, Frida, and come over here. You can take the mic.
Thanks a lot for putting your insights on AI. One question, which I am thinking personally, AI, people who are developing AI, people who are working on LLMs are putting like a lot of productivity. Their brains are working high.
Right.
But as the users of AI like us, if you take writing emails, writing the articles, we used to use our brains.
Lateral thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Critical
And then
thinking.
write those. But nowadays it is becoming so easier, like it is making us lazy, where we just depend on AI and then write articles. We use AI for writing our emails. We use AI for writing minutes of meetings. So do you think that is also a negative impact on developing our brains?
Okay, let me put it this way. In my lifetime alone, I've seen technology take over and automate a bunch of human faculties, right? I mean, by just AI and lateral and critical thinking. Calculators, we don't multiply in our minds anymore. Okay? The early days of digital diaries, we don't remember our friends and families' phone numbers anymore. I used to remember all my friends' phone numbers and my family's phone numbers back in college, right? The memory has been taken away. Google search, Wikipedia and internet, the research has been taken away. You have it at the tip of your fingers. Now, AI, generative AI is taking our critical and lateral thinking, it's taking it away. But have you watched Lucy? Morgan Freeman talks about how we humans use only less than 10% of our brain. There's still 90% of headroom, for us to connect all our trillions of cells and memories and consciousness and nervous system and align them and come up with new and new capabilities. Probably it's time for us humans to dig into ourselves and figure out new capabilities onto ourselves, which will surely be automated to machines again in a few decades. But, I think it's a continuous evolution.
If I may also add, I think one of the wish lists that I do have is that ChatGPT will do the laundry, it will make my food,
Yeah.
then I can draw, and I can write, and I can paint, but it's going the other way around.
It's going the other way right now.
But Ram, Anil had a question. It's a bit cheeky. Okay, it's a bit cheeky. Anil just whispered something in my ears and he wanted me to ask it.
I mean, I've disclaimed all knowledge of this question.
Yeah, so, and Anil said, Raj, can you ask Jayanth, how does AI companion work and AI spouse work?
And let's go to Tokyo. Let's check
Now,
out real dolls.
Raj, that is spoken like a CEO. You asked your question, and you attributed it to Anil.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, one last question.
Probably, yeah.
Yes, over there, something.
You can shout it properly.
This is the last question, please.
Thank you, Jen, for the presentation. One question that I had is, in today's time where disinformation is being used to as a tool of war, take any geopolitical hotspots, or disinformation is also being used to sway elections. So, what role does Gen AI play to combat disinformation?
What role did media play in the last few decades in disinformation? Who's to say that history and media is not disinformation? We don't know. Honestly, like I said, like I was answering Raj, we have, again, Gen AI models like Truth GPTs and the combination of rules and regulations and policies which are going to become in place. It's going to be a combination of technology and policy-based framework and an ecosystem which is going to ensure that a lot of these disinformation and fake profiling will be contained. There will be some emulation with it, but the society will evolve to live with it. Okay, like it has with a lot with internet and mobile systems. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Jayanth, and as usual, it has been terrific.
Thank you.
A big round of applause, please. Thank you.